In this episode, we delve into the dynamic realm of legal services, exploring the nuances between virtual services and consulting. Join in on my conversation with Bonnie Keene as we unravel the intricacies of these two pillars of the legal industry and discuss how they are reshaping the way legal professionals operate in a digital era. Before we get into this episode, we would like to thank our Season 4 sponsor, Affirm Investigative Solutions, your go-to litigation support company. Without them, we would not be able to keep upgrading and integrating new concepts to this growing podcast. If you would like to take your support further, feel free to hit the support button on our Let's Talk Paralegal website so we can continue providing quality and empowering content for you and all our listeners. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. I'm your girl, Etta, and we are here with the amazing Bonnie. How are you, Bonnie?
I'm well, doing good.
It's still morning. I haven't had my coffee and I'm still hyper and I have no idea why. So we're just going to roll with my energy at this moment. We had a great little conversation before recording and we met through the amazing LinkedIn. I always like to promote them even though they don't pay me or sponsor me. But I believe LinkedIn is a magical tool that is underutilized for any professional, which I think will tie into the topics that we're going to go over today on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. So we have a mutual colleague, a friend, whatever you want to call them, but it's Jacqueline Foster. And if you don't know about Jacqueline, even though, again, I don't get paid or anything for this, we are just helping each other out in our communities. Jacqueline Foster is an amazing paralegal, I guess, law guru is what I call her. She offers a lot of virtual paralegal services to law firms nationwide, and she's just an amazing networking tool. A lot of people find me through her or through Misty or through anybody beyond paralegals and all these big name paralegal companies out there. I'm just blessed and honored to be among those amazing brains, and we're all females. So hey, go female power. So it was great to hear that, you found me through such a wonderful person, I have to say. So without further ado, let's start with our first topic of the day, which is virtual paralegal services, something that was pretty much a unicorn before COVID. And it was so hard, as I was telling you prior to the recording, it was so hard to convince law firms and lawyers in general that I can do the same thing, that I would be able to do in an office outside the office, right? And it was just this huge thing with confidentiality. How do I know you're doing it? How do I know that you're, billing me the right way and this and that? And, there's technology is a wonderful thing and there's plenty of ways and plenty of obstacles to be removed. We still have a long way to go as, cybersecurity is one of them. There's a lot of hacking. There's a lot of information breaches that are going on. So cybersecurity has been another topic along with AI that are trying to marry each other and trying to make the process a lot smoother. But with anything else, we're always going to have little glitches in the beginning, but we're getting there. So talk a little bit about this because I feel like it's a very passionate thing for you because I feel like it's more personal for you. So start with the why and then end with the now.
Okay. So my why is to basically my buildup of my past experiences working with the state gives me kind of a window of I know what the state's going to expect in terms of deadlines and paperwork and caseloads and how different counties I've worked in. So different states, it works the same way. Different states are different as well. And so my vision was leading up to how can we do this stuff and be able to help more than just one law firm, and can we build a team of paralegals, or how can we do these services where it also helps where the law offices are sometimes doing those paralegal tasks because they can stay after hours and then they're working harder in their firm and into the night, and then that could be something that your virtual paralegal can handle, and then that relieves that stress of all that extra work that your paralegal really needs to do but can't do in 8 hours. And it also some of the smaller offices don't want to put in too many employees. Maybe they don't have the office space, they don't find it meshes well, they have a perfect number and it works. Adding the virtual services keeps that, whole too many people in the office, maybe even personalities and stuff that don't seem to mix because there's too many. That takes that off the table. And then you've got your volume of things being and deadlines being met, and there's nothing falling in the cracks because you've got that extra support. Not just, I mean, paralegal services, but also someone maybe helping running your softwares and uploading tasks. But, all that is behind the scenes work that I have been there where you're sitting there for 4 or 5 hours, or you don't see a courtroom because you've not had to go that week and you're just in the office. Well, and you don't have to do the receptionist tasks because there is that support there. So, it's almost like I could do double the work because you're still getting interrupted in an office. So having an extra virtual paralegal, or maybe a couple, even depending on, your workload. That's kind of my vision for helping not only just one law office, but being virtual also protects, your confidentiality. I think there are some areas that still need to be covered, but now with e-filing with the states, I kind of feel like maybe that law firms are like, okay, well, you can be breached for information, so we can do things electronically more now too, because, I mean, kind of like the playing field's even there.
Yeah,
um,
it opened the cannonball.
yeah. And I know that there's drawbacks to e-filing, but there's drawbacks to everything.
Mhm.
So we just have to make adjustments. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like the cost too. We know that small law firms, especially sole practitioners that maybe have one or two people in the law firm, they're just beginning. I feel like cost is a big thing for them, right? Like I don't have enough money and I cannot afford a full-on staff to
mhm.
fill in these positions at this moment. With virtual or even remote or contract, you're not paying for the benefits, you're not paying for, it's pretty much a part-time person, where you're not paying for all the extra things that come along with employers. So when you are doing that and when it's happening in that way, you have to kind of make sure that, hey, what is my return on investment? You have to kind of put in on your business hat and be like, well, if I can pay this person X amount of hours and maybe them not breach, or go over the 10 hours or the 20 hours, I can fit that into my budget, and in turn, this person will make my business grow, right? You have to invest. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to put like one of my prior guests said, and I'll never forget it because it was such an odd concept, but he said, I put the carriage before the horse. And I was like, well, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes, you have to bite the bullet and you have to kind of really, really work on your budget. And I feel like sometimes small law firms that have small budgets are sometimes not small minded, they're just thinking small, right? So they have that small mindset sometimes. And it's up to us to kind of open that mind up and show them that there are other ways that you can kind of, maneuver your way through it and really get to the next level that you want to get to. And by doing that is kind of like a great segue to our second one, which is consulting, right? Providing consulting services as a paralegal has been a growing thing as well. Again, something that I've done for a very long time, but I enjoy the company now because I was pretty much alone in this when it came to a paralegal, aka non-lawyer, providing consulting for law firms, right? And so that was a hard sell sometimes. And, so sometimes I would kind of like weave my way in and I'd be like, hey, I'll give you paralegal services if you let me do your consulting. And then, that's how I started with building the brands as far as that goes. Now, one thing before I hear your input on the consulting part of it, I do want to make this clear, and I say this to all the paralegals that I coach that are in transition or pivoting or in that freelance journey is what I call it. I don't want you to bundle up I don't want you to do what I did. Bundle up your paralegal services with consulting, because what happens is you're cutting yourself short and they're only paying you at the paralegal rate when you're literally doing two jobs. So you're putting yourself back into the mindset of the 9 to 5, doing it all, being the receptionist, the intake person, the litigator, everything else, and only getting paid for one person. That is a 5-person job. Although we did it and we were very proud of our accomplishments, especially when we won the cases, okay, we're out of that. We are business owners, we have overhead, we have bills to pay, and nobody else is paying it for us because we no longer have the safety blanket of an employee. So you have to start thinking of one, or thinking like one. So I want you to understand, please do not bundle up the paralegal services with the consulting services. Those are two different packages. If you
Right.
want to walk in with the paralegal service, great. Offer them the paralegal service and be like, hey, by the way, I noticed this, and this within your process. You want to talk about it? Let's have a conversation. This is what I can help you with. However, this is going to be an extra cost. That's how you get your foot in the door, and that's how you get paid more, because you've already proven your worth and they're willing to pay you at that point versus just coming straight into the gate with, I offer consulting services. So that is a great way to get your feet wet and to kind of establish your consulting services. But Bonnie, I'm really interested in what you have to say about this, because I love to hear different perspectives and I love to hear um, other paralegals' minds regarding the consulting service. So go ahead.
Well, so I approached, it was very new to me in working with different law firms in different states, but I love learning new things because when I was uh, at the clerk's office, I liked to learn all the different departments. I wanted to learn it all. And so that was one of the things, like I was like, okay, it's challenging, but and it's even better that that I'm working with different states and different people who do federal stuff, and which I've always been interested in. And um it's it's been really eye-opening to showing me my strengths,
Hmm.
um because I think that it's still a new idea to them too. And you know being able to let them know my personal experiences is why I'm leading them to, hey, what in your work processes, what do you do? And they have like an idea, but like not specific tasks. And I feel like it has helped me and them when I am helpful in opening their eyes to, okay, but you need to do this step too, right? Oh yeah. you know. So I mean, it's hard, I'm sure, because they see a courtroom most of the time and not all the behind the scenes stuff, and they just know it's supposed to happen, but they're not there for when those fallbacks in the office happen. And even in the state too, there used to be people to train people in the state, and there isn't anymore in the state I'm in. But so I guess I'm speaking for my state because there could be in others. But so that person that works in that office, which was me a lot of times,
Which was me.
I would put together a go-to manual of some kind, because you don't want someone to say, hey, but this is what you're supposed to do, but it's not written anywhere. So how is that supposed to know? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I had to write my own workflows through the years of working with the state and everything. So, it's helped me realize that there's just nothing there, and they're so busy. There's nothing there to train their staff. And then, I've been that person that's been there where you got one person to tell you something, but they can't be there right then to help you. So
No.
where are you going to look to
Hmm.
know what to do next?
Right.
And you have clients calling, and what are you supposed to tell them? I mean, if you're brand new, and even if you've been in the legal field, being brand new in a law office is way different than being brand new in the state office. You know,
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. And but that goes with everything, right? I think lawyers don't understand that the process needs to be unique to them, right? Because you can't compare a personal injury law firm with a family law firm, and you can't compare them in a city where your clients are more city oriented versus the,
Right.
countryside or even the Bible Belt, or it's a whole different dynamic. It depends on your clientele. It depends on the type of practice, especially if you're a general practitioner. Boy, you need more than one process because that is just going to be way too much for the staff to handle. You want your business at the end of the day, for any business owner out there or anyone that is thinking of owning a business, you want your business to run on its own.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be there in order for your business to continue. And that is what a successful business is all about. Whether you have one employee, two employees, three employees, if you're out of it and they can run on its own, then you've succeeded as a business owner. As soon as you can remove yourself from the equation, you have made it, my friend. So understanding that that is the ultimate goal for any business owner. And I feel like another thing, and we've said this on and on and on the podcast, and I'm sure my audience is going to be like, here she goes again. But one thing is that law school does not teach lawyers how to run law firms, right? Which is why consultants, legal educators, professional trainers, that's why they exist, right? That's why we have jobs. I fit in all three of those categories. Understanding that that is a necessity that needs to be filled, especially in the two main fields here in the United States, which is the medical field and the legal field. Those are the two industries that run the communities, right? So you'll have your businesses, you have your, five, what is it, 500 or whatever, five, whatever, the top 5% of the businesses in the States. Great. Wonderful. That's great for people in Wall Street, for people that invest, and for your all 401ks, and for everybody that's, trying to build wealth. Okay, that's awesome. That's probably maybe, and I don't even know if this is an actual fact, but maybe like 1 or 2% of the entire, population of the United States. We're talking about the people that serve our communities day in and day out. We're talking about the majority of our communities, which is about 90%, where we're serving the day-to-day people that are just trying to live paycheck to paycheck and try to make a living, trying to grow their families, and just trying to be human, right? And just surviving the day. Those are the people that we serve on a day in and day out. They will not be able to afford $10,000 retainers to get a divorce. Like, let's be real. So understanding that there is a healthy balance, right? We have to have that healthy balance between the services you're providing, how you're providing it, and how that's being implemented. That's the main key. And I think that's what consulting services is all about. Another thing, and I don't want to get too much on my soapbox because I said this before, I was going to get excited because this is my jam. I love this. And I love educating people on what the consulting world looks like for paralegals at law firms. Another thing is, you have to take your paralegal hat off. Understanding that you're no longer that paralegal. You are here as a business owner. You're here to really lay out the land. Yes, think about what you did on a day-to-day as a paralegal, but understand that that sometimes will not translate directly to this particular law firm. You have to learn the lay of the land. They probably have a different software. They probably have no software. I mean, let's be real. Some law firms don't have software. They're still using Office, 365 as their main software, and they're still copying and pasting templates. And those are things that, obviously need to be discussed, at the I guess the initial consult. So understanding that there's a difference between owning a business, right? Being a business owner and being a lawyer, and then owning a business and being a paralegal, right? It's two different things, and I can't stress that enough. You guys have to separate that. So we kind of skipped over this, so I kind of want to go back to it. But tell us what inspired you to offer these virtual paralegal services and this consulting. I know you touched upon it a little bit, with your time at the state and everything and all the inefficiencies and how you had to create those processes. But really, what was the trigger, right? We all have that one day where we wake up and we're just like, I'm done. Like something has got to give, I've done my time. I'm hanging my hat and I'm going to another, I'm just doing
Yeah.
another path at this point. So tell me about that moment.
Okay. In the last 2 or 3 years, just having my own family, being a mom, I had uh, a child that later in life. So, had to do the mom thing all over again, and started over. And I think it started my wheels turning about like how much resources I have to put out just to get to work. And then because it's two jobs. I mean, if you're doing your job as a mother, it's two full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times when I had to pack my own breakfast, lunch, and dinner because of the commute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, and still, even without the commute, taking that away, how much having to buy lunch out because I don't have time. And, you know, so it's a lot to think about. And then thinking about what am I getting out of it? What am I able to produce?
Yeah.
You know, and could I do more? And I feel like the virtual service world offers so much more because I'm more productive. And I know it takes a certain personality type because there are people that can't manage things without being in an office. Great, that's for them. But I am the kind that manages my time, and I'm very headstrong in getting my work done. And that was another initiating thing. It was like when I had to drop my work at 5, I'm like, I don't want to drop this right now. Like I am in the middle of something. And I want to be able to, if I wake up at midnight and I can't go to sleep, I want to be able to work. I want to be able to that puts me ahead of myself and prepares me better for the next day. And
Mm.
I know a handful of attorneys that would definitely agree because they do it themselves.
Yeah.
So it kind of works the same way. And so not only would it benefit them, but it benefits, the business, both businesses, I guess. And that was my whole thing. I was like, wow, this is a world that I want to be a part of because I can give more, meet my goals better, and not have to deplete my resources.
I love that. I love it. And I think so many people will resonate with that because, and even if they're not a parent, they're still juggling other things, right? A lot of us are, the new year's coming, so everybody's on their diet, everybody's on their, regimen, we
Right.
got to look good for Christmas and New Year's, all that good stuff, right? So everybody's in a different mindset at this moment, right? We're all in this, what I always say that after Halloween, it's called the blissful season, right? Everybody's in a great mood or everybody's stressed out because of the holidays, right? Because that's just the way it is. You're either or you're kind of like a little mix of both. And so this year I decided not to be stressed. And I just decided to be like, whatever happens, happens. I am not going to cook for 100 people. That's just not happening. And so I was like, wherever we get invited, if my husband decides to book a flight, great. Like, so sometimes what I'm trying to get at, guys, here, I have a point to this. What I'm trying to get at is sometimes you just got to follow you just have to do what's best for you. And a lot of the paralegals I speak to on a day-to-day basis pretty much are at this moment, right? At that moment that you just explained, at that aha moment where you just wake up and you're like, enough's enough. I could do so much more with my skills. I've been here for 5, 10, 11. In my case, it was 15. And so it's like, I've done it all. I went everywhere from you name it. I was a billing clerk. I was sometimes even the receptionist when the receptionist was on vacation. I took over. I did the intake. Like I've done every single little nook and cranny process you can possibly think about for long periods of time, enough to learn the process. And I've litigated heavy hitter cases as well, done briefs for the Supreme Court and everything. So at that point, I was just like, I've done it all. There's really not much else for me to provide on a 9 to 5 job. I was in a really bad mental health state, right? I was a recent mom. My daughter was barely a year old. I had, lost my father a few months before that. And I was just in a very whirlwind moment, pivotal moment in my life where I was just like, something's got to give. I can change, right? Like if the opportunity is not going to come to me, which we all know that doesn't happen, we have to go to the opportunity or create it. In our cases, we've created that opportunity. We've paved the way for other paralegals to be pretty much what I say, limitless paralegal. That's where the whole idea came from and the whole concept. And it's because I want you guys to tap into your limitlessness. I can never say that. I want you to tap into your full potential, but then think about one thing I always say, and I'll probably end on this note, and I'll have Bonnie say her last words as well, for the episode, is think of the moment when you've already accomplished your goal. What are you going to do then? That's what I want you to think about, because we spend our entire life planning and time managing for that moment, right? And we put all these little ducks in the row, and we check off the list, and we start, turning the wheels, and then we get there, and then we're like, is this going to be enough? What's the next step, right? And it's not that I want you to be always continuously going. I just want you to think about that moment now, so you don't have to think about it when you get there. You already have a plan. You already know what the next step is. And I want you to continue to be in the present, because that allows you to enjoy and embrace what's now versus trying to overthink it later on. So I'm going to end with that. I have a lot more to say, but we're going to end it with that. And I want Bonnie to say a few words, maybe give some tips or tricks, maybe a takeaway for the audience, or something super helpful and practical for them where they can really take it home and practice with it.
Okay. Well, if sometimes, people are on the edge, I was on the ledge of not jumping off. And I feel like if you feel like the same way that you need to contribute to something bigger, and you'd like, to offer virtual services, don't let people get you down, because there will be a lot of advice that like for myself was like, oh, well, you won't be able to help people in other states, and you won't be able to help small law offices. And it wasn't like they were being ugly. They just didn't understand everything about it. And so that is very untrue. Very untrue. There's loads and loads of work and law offices willing to let you help them. It works the same way, whether it's in your state or not. Here's our templates, here's our deadlines. There you go. And so it's a growing thing, and I think that it should be given serious thought, if you are seeing that as maybe an option for yourself. I don't think that you would be upset with the results at all.
It's a lot of work. We're not gonna paint you roses. But it's a lot of dedication. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of organizing. I always suggest to my paralegals that I coach and that I teach, read the E-Myth, the book called E-Myth, and I'll put the link in the description. The revisited version, because he upgraded it later on. It's from the author Michael Gerber, and it's pretty much my Bible at this point. I literally have highlights and tabs and everything, because it doesn't only give you practical things to build your business, it also works on the mindset, which I feel like that's super important when you're on your own and you don't have the staff. Like right now, my team is growing. We're about 5 of us right now, but I didn't start off at 5. I was doing those jobs and then some when I first started off. So really creating that mindset. He has an amazing org chart. My goodness, my English is not very good looking today. So the org chart, focus on that. I know some people are visual, so there is an org chart on there that you can focus on. It's a great book to get you started. Obviously my book if you want to read it, but that's only for the early birds. I always suggest my book to like the paralegals that are just starting out and getting their feet wet. But if you're already to the point where you're trying to open up your business, I don't think my book is going to be that helpful. My next book will, but not this one. So anyway, without further ado, thank you, Bonnie, for joining us on the Let's Talk Paralegal podcast. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your story. I feel like the more we share with our audience, the better our community and the stronger we get. So stronger together. And thank you so much. Until justice is served, everybody. Bye.